Welcome to 7D System, I'm the DMG, and in this video we're going to be talking about a plant monster, the stinging vine. Not all monsters in the world are out to kill everyone. Some just need adventurers to carry some stuff for them. The name of this plant, the stinging vine, is actually a misnomer. It does not sting at all, but it does paralyze you for a while. The pollen of this plant is sought after by many an apothecary for use in a wide variety of treatments, but mainly as a sort of anesthetic. These vines are not very widespread in the world due to their unusual way of reproducing. None of the numerous journals on botany and even Burke's bizarre Botany Biblio do not reveal the origins of the name. Somewhere in history, someone got confused. Stinging vines hang from the ceiling and look like ordinary roots. Their only distinguishing features are the dull flowers at the top of the hanging vines. Each vine can be longer than a human is tall, coiling at the end. Along the length are some pores or spiracles, which are used to vacuum up pollen that may be on passing creatures. Small, immature vines grow from the main clump attached to the ceiling. The plant is relatively unremarkable in appearance. When the sentient species of the world began building networks of underground dungeons, they often used to use existing natural caves to reduce the amount of excavation a project required. Naturally, the flora inhabitants of these caves infiltrated and made some of their complexes their new homes, especially when the places were abandoned or not well maintained. One such infiltrator is the stinging vine. Although there is much written about the uses for its pollen and how the vine grows and reproduces, sadly it is a rather uninteresting plant. More a bother than anything else, that is until you discuss them with mole people. Mole people love to cultivate these subterranean weeds for some reason. It is thought it may help enrich the soil in their burrows or as a natural defense mechanism against unwanted intruders. Stinging vines are always found hanging from the ceiling of a dark, usually subterranean structure. They can cling onto almost any surface, but they tend to grow best in amongst the roots of other large trees, where the ground may be more fertile. The primary purpose of the vines is to ensnare a passerby. The great strength of the vines then drag the victim under the flowers, where they are powdered with pollen. Stinging vine pollen is an extremely fast-acting paralytic agent. Once the victim comes in contact with the pollen, they are immediately rendered paralyzed. The paralysis wears off after a short rest. The pollen is sometimes used by nefarious rogues who keep it in a small bottle and blow it onto a target. It can be a little tricky though, as there is always a chance they may accidentally inhale the pollen themselves. There is no real reason for the pollen to paralyze the ensnared carrier other than it must have served some other evolutionary purpose in the past. Pollen carriers that encounter other stinging vines will also be ensnared. While they are ensnared, the pollen is vacuumed up off the carrier before they are powdered again by the new plant. It is not unusual to find a person or an animal laying at the foot of one of these plants, not moving but slowly breathing, a clear warning of the vine's presence. Vine fruit is a sticky bulbous mass that is flung by the vine when the fruit is ripe. The sticky mass sticks to the nearby ceiling, and a few months later a new stinging vine takes root. Halflings on diplomatic missions to the standing stones of the mole people have told of delicious sticky fruit cake that has been served. However, they did not sign a contract to procure the recipe. Stinging vines do naturally form clumped groups in areas where the soil above is fertile. However, they do not interact with one another except via pollen carriers. They grow as far as the parent vine can throw them. Occasionally some fruit is stuck to a moving object or a creature and is deposited somewhere else. Encounters with stinging vines almost always happen by accident, when a party is not aware of their presence or accidentally stumble into the vines thinking they are ordinary roots. The vines are completely mindless and only react when they are touched. The vines lash out as ranged attacks and attempt to ensnare those nearby. The attacks are usually against those nearest the vine, but they could also be random. The attacks don't actually do any damage. Their sole purpose is to ensnare the victim and drag them under the flowers to deposit pollen on them, paralyzing them. The vines stop thrashing around when there are no longer any potential targets in the area. So if you like this video, do what the shirt says, like button. You can also check me out on Facebook and Twitter /7D System, and you can support these videos on patreon.com /7D System. Now, if you have any suggestions on how this monster can be used other than what's been mentioned in this video, comment section below to help other people. PDF for this monster is available from the link below in the description. So the PDF contains all the ecology, the history, the social stuff, and how to encounter it. Contains a combat encounter guide. It also has a stat card, which is a tarot size you can use for the monsters, as well as paper minis as well. So there's a lot in that PDF that's useful in any game, not just 70 system. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. We talk about buffer snakes.